What's going on, my dudes? Chensley11 here, and welcome back to another episode in the A to Z series, where we are going through every single champion in League of Legends in alphabetical order and giving you a basic or beginner's guide on each of them. In today's episode, we're going to be going through Bel'Veth, the new jungler. So it's going to be a jungle guide for her, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be going through all of her abilities, her build, and her runes, and just some tips and tricks how to play her, and some of my initial thoughts on the champion in general. So I think she's really fun. Her early game is kind of weak, and you'll see that while we go through the first clear, what our strategies are to get out of the early game. Similar to most level 6 junglers like Master and Evelyn that want to get out of being under level 6 as quick as possible, try and power farm to level 6, then they can impact the game a little more. So we'll go through some tips and strategies about how to power farm, which is just being efficient and knowing your clear very well. And also going through some what you can do in the late game with her. So this is still early on in her lifespan. So, I mean, the gameplay is not going to be perfect, but that isn't the main point of these videos. The main point is to go through all of the abilities, runes, build, and whatnot, so you guys have a bit of an understanding of how she works. So, as always with the jungle episodes, we're going to be quickly having a look at the first clear. Now, you can start red buff. I've seen chicken start, or I call them chickens, or raptors start without a leash. I've seen red buff start with a leash on this side of the map, that is. I prefer the blue start because she's good at single target damage. She has a lot of AoE with her Q as well. She's pretty good at clearing both sets of jungle camps, whether it be single target or AoE. I just find this clear nice and simple. The best thing about starting this side is, especially when you're starting out the game, most junglers will start with their bot side to get the double leash from their bot lane. And that'll lead to them finishing off their clear at around 3:15 if they do a full clear at the top scuttle crab. So if you do this clear, what happens is you end up at the bottom scuttle crab and get an uncontested scuttle, because Bel'Veth early game isn't strong. Especially we're going to take flash and smite, so your early dueling is not great. So that's why we start this side, and that's why it's recommended to start this side in general on all the guide sites as well. So we go blue buff, we go Gromp, we go Wolves. You want to smite the Gromp to maintain health. You can also make sure you're using your potion if you need. You want to take... I'll go through the level up order as well in just a moment, just so it makes more sense when we're going through the clear. But then anyway, you want to go Wolves, you want to go red buff, and then Krugs. When you do the chickens or raptors, I think I said Wolves earlier, my bad. I mean the raptors. You want to make sure you're using that Q AoE so you can clear them more efficiently. And then you want to use your E when targets are low health, because that's an execute. So that's the tips I'll give you for clearing the jungle. The W is a knock-up. It's not super important for the jungle camps, except for the Scuttle Crab. Obviously, when you apply CC to the Scuttle Crab, it loses its shield. So that's the W there. So it's really important to use that and to save that for the Scuttle Crab. Even if there's a Scuttle Crab fight, the W is quite important for that duel, because you can CC them. So that's basically the first clear. Now, normally I like to go through the runes, but we're going to go through the level up order first, because it makes more sense. Here, instead of doing the Krugs, I was having a little bit of a second thought. Maybe I should go quickly try and get the Scuttle Crab into gank. But the enemy team is pushed up quite a lot, so we got time. And I'm pretty sure the Bard is roamed mid, and I think we saw the jungler's probably top side. No, there's the jungler there, ganking mid. In any case, it doesn't really matter for this video, keeping track of the enemy jungler, but just try to do that in your own games. That way it makes it a bit easier when you know you might be going for a Scuttle Crab fight. If both of your lanes are losing, or getting pushed in rather, not losing, they might not be able to roam and help you get the Scuttle Crab. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So I think we check the Scuttle Crab and it is taken, I believe, I remember, yes. And then we go to do the gank bottom, which ends up being fantastic. So what I said earlier about starting blue backfired, right? Because the enemy jungler just went and got this buff. So they might be wise to it and stop that from happening. So we knock up when we go for the gank, then we go in with the Qs, making sure to apply, getting our passive, and we get the double kill. So that was actually quite fortunate we got both the kills. That's going to allow us to snowball quite a lot and gives us a lot of levels. So we're going to help push out and also get a little bit of XP here, which is fantastic. So let's go through the level up order so you know what to do when you're clearing your first jungle. So you want to start Q level 1. That's very important. That's your ability that allows you to dash everywhere. And again, we're going to go through the abilities in a lot more detail in a moment. Then you want to get your E second, which is that execute, where you just you basically gain resistances and you do a lot of damage to a single target. It does more the lower health they are. And then W is the third ability you take. That's the knock up. You want to max your Q first. You want to max your E second. You want to max your W last. And then take a point in your ultimate whenever you can. Just when we got a little bit of this time down, we're going to quickly go through the runes. Now, the runes for me is just Conqueror is fantastic. Because you're auto-attacking so much, you're going to get a lot of value in that in the late game. Then you want to go Triumph, you want to go Legend Alacrity, and then Last Dance, and then you want to go Inspiration as your secondary and get the Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. Now, getting the Magic Footwear is definitely for a late game jungler because you're going to be sacrificing some of your early power because you can't buy your early boots for that saving in gold, which will allow you to get your power spiking items quicker. In saying that, if you happen to have a game like this one where you get the nice double kill gank where it worked out fantastically for us, then it doesn't really matter. So you can see here I'm a level up and I've got a health advantage. And we have mid lane prior. You can see me pinging to my mid laner to come roam, but I don't think they'd roam in time, so that's unfortunate. But in that situation, if the mid laner was a bit quicker, we could have picked, especially with Luxbind, we could have picked and killed the Kiana there. So we're going to have a look top using our sweeper. I didn't think I mentioned it earlier. What I did was I placed the ward down, backed, and then changed the sweeper. Sweeper's just, in my opinion, the best trinket for a jungler because you can gank. As I did there, I used it and then I started ganking because it cancels all the wards, so they can't see me coming. So that's, in my opinion, what's going to help you out the most. But then if you do that, make sure you're buying the pink wards or the control wards so you can actually place some vision down yourself. You can see me here. I'm just looking around for the Kiana. A little bit greedy, considering I knew where she was. She was coming from top side, so I knew she probably would have cleared her top side jungle. But it is what it is. I was just trying to waste time before the Scuttle Crab fight. And then, unfortunately, the Aatrox has roamed to us, so there's a little bit troll, but it is what it is. And here's the Bard, but fortunately we can get out with a knock-up and then a blasting plant there. So, a little bit greedy, but we're going to end up taking the Scuttle Crab here with a smite, I believe, and then it's going to be okay. So we're going to use our W, that'll knock the shield off, as I said, why it's important to use that, and then we use our E after smite to kill it off. So not the most efficient jungle pathing. But this game is a little bit of fun. I'm exploring the champion. It was a lot of fun. So let's go through the build, guys. So I'm going to put it up on the screen, and this is what's recommended by a lot of the sites at the moment. So you want to go Ember Knife start with your refillable potion. This will give you great sustain through your jungle clearing, and also when you get the red smite, that'll help you with 1v1ing. The early items you want to be looking to get a Noon Quiver, which is what we picked up already earlier. And then you want to be rushing a Kraken Slayer into Plated Steel Caps. Now, there are situations where you want to go Mercury Treads if they have a lot of AP or a lot of hard CC, but if not, Plated Steel Caps are your best option. Blade of the Ruined Kings is your second main item. Then you want to go Death Stance. So once you hit Death Stance, it's lights out, guys. Once you hit that third item, Bel'Veth feels really, really strong. If they have a super amount of 80 damage, or they're getting a bit carried away with assassins and whatnot, Death Stance is the way to go. So, for example, if this game the Kiana went nuts and they didn't really have they had like an assassin, 80 assassin mid laner, Death Stance second might have been like a good option instead of going Blade of the Ruined King second. Wit's End is always your good option as well after that for if they have a lot of magic damage, and then Rage Blade in there as well. You can also get Guardian's Angel, which is what I think I build this game. And you got to adjust your build depending on the game state. But for a just nice stock standard build, definitely go Kraken Slayer, Blade of the Ruined King, Death Stance. Those three you should be fine. And then if you need some magic resist, build the Wit's End or even a Spirit Visage if you need it. So that's the build, guys. I know we rushed through that a bit, but Bel'Veth is quite a complicated champion with a lot of different things to get through. So I want to make sure we have enough time to get through all of the abilities. So we're going to start with Bel'Veth's passive, which is called Death in Lavender. Okay? So basically, this has two passives. So basically, you attack faster than most champions in the game. Okay? So that's basically what her kit is based around. So, as we have a look here for this gank on the Leona, always start off with your knock-up. That way you can get the CC for your team, following with the Qs, and then we get the kill. My teammate ends up stealing it. So, basically, you attack faster. Make sure you pick up your Lotuses, which we'll go through that in a moment when we go through our ultimate passive. I know there's thousands of passive on these new champions. But I will miss a couple, I think, this game, which is something to get used to when you first pick her up. So... She has a modified attack cap, which means she can attack higher or faster than all the champions in the game. However, there's a caveat to this. 75% damage is done when she does basic attacks and on-hit effects. So basically, her auto attacks do less damage, but remember, she can attack way faster than anyone else, right? So that's why she has this little bit of a caveat, and she has a lot of attack speed, right? Now, Bel'Veth's abilities cast generate 2 stacks of death in Lavender on her resource bar. So just under the health bar, you can see there's like an empty bar, and you can see whenever I Q, W, or E, 2 little segments fill up, as you can see there on the W. So those 2 segments are your death in Lavender stacks. Now these last 5 seconds, as we 1v1 the Kiana, and we use our flash. You can see here, I'm just trying to build up the stacks, and we absolutely murder her. Even though we're level down, I think. Absolutely murdered her. I think we'll level up, I can't remember. Absolutely smashed her in the 1v1 because we have our form, which is our ultimate. But we'll go through that in a moment. So basically with these stacks, right? So you stack them up. You can stack them up all the way to 6. And then Bel'Veth's, she gets ghosted when she has these stacks, when it's fully stacked. Which means you can run through minions. And then when your basic attacks consume one of these stacks, okay? So you want to always have stacks, and they give you bonus attack speed, okay? So let me read it to you from the wiki itself. So while Bel'Veth has stacks, she becomes ghosted and gains 25 to 50 bonus attack speed, and her attacks themselves consume a stack. So essentially, you never want to be on 0 stacks if you can help it, because while you have stacks, you have a higher attack speed and you have your ghosted, which means you can run through minions and monsters and champions. So it's hard to explain, but it's quite simple. And I'll explain it really quickly again, simply, so you understand. While you have those stacks, you have bonus attack speed and you can move around easier. And you get those stacks by basically using any one of your abilities. Your basic abilities, which is your Q, W, and your E. So let's go on to a second part of her passive, which is called whenever Bel'Veth scores a takedown against a champion, monster, or minion, within 3 seconds of damaging them, she generates a permanent stack of Lavender. Now that stack is just above, it's on her passive bar itself. You can see that 31 number, and it's just above her abilities. So minions and monsters that are large generate 1 stack. Champions and epic monsters generate 2 stacks. So Lavender, for each stack, Bel'Veth gains bonus attack speed. So basically that number, as you go in through the game, you're generating more and more attack speed. So you can see when we kill, or if we killed that, we get a stack. I don't actually know if we get a stack there, because we did damage to that, and then the Twisted Fate took it. I'm not quite sure. I have to go back and check the clip itself. But essentially, whenever you kill monsters, and I think it's cannons now, they've changed it, but most importantly, monsters in the jungle, you get these stacks of Lavender, which give you permanent attack speed through the game. So this is why she's a very strong late game champion, because you're getting these stacks and you're scaling into the late game with higher and higher and higher attack speed. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. And remember, if you have any questions at all about Bel'Veth, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. So now we're going to go through the Q, which is called Void Surge, as we survive this little skirmish here in the mid lane. So Void Surge, so it has an active component. Bel'Veth dashes in a designated direction, not through terrain. Now, this with an asterisk, because there is a situation where you can go through terrain, which is later on. We'll go through that later. You can see here I'm just clearing up these minions as much as I can. Trying to clear this all, so maybe potentially the Leona takes a tower shot, but essentially we're getting a lot of free farm as well. So we're at 75 at 14 minutes, which is not too bad. So, Bel'Veth dashes in a target direction, not through terrain, dealing physical damage to the enemy she passes through. I forgot to mention at the start, Bel'Veth is a physical damage dealer. She doesn't do magic damage despite being all, you know, magical, not magical like, you know, monstery. It's physical damage she's dealing. She does have a little bit of on-hit magic damage, as you can see the numbers popping out of the red buff. And she also does a lot of true damage, and we'll get to that in a moment. So, as she passes through enemies, she's applying on-hit. She's and she can also crit with the Void Surge. So, remember, these Qs are actually really important in team fights. Number 1, to stick on your target. Number 2, to generate your stacks of your Lavender, to keep you attacking fast. Remember, whenever you're attacking, filling up that resource bar, you're gaining attack speed and becoming ghosted. And it's doing damage itself. The Q does a lot of damage itself. So it's important to be using these inside of team fights and inside of trading and also jungle clears, right? You can see there I try and use the Q whenever I can because it does a nice AoE damage. It does 120% to monsters as well, which means it does extra damage to monsters, which helps you clear. Void Surge can be cast only within the cardinal directions that is off cooldown. It incurs cooldown between casts. Each cardinal direction has a unique cooldown that is reduced by 0.25 ability haste and 1%, per 1% bonus attack speed. These cooldowns reset upon respawning. So what does that mean? If you can see now on the queue, each segment, look at this, look at that, that's insane. The E is absolutely nonsense, guys. You just pop your E if someone's trying to trade with you. If they're low, you become resistance yourself. You get lifesteal, and you absolutely nuke them. You can see how I forget to take the Lavender, which is kind of trolling on the dragon because it gives you a longer true form time. So basically, your Q, like each direction of your Q has its own cooldown, which is what that was saying. Which is a little bit different and a little bit complex, but once you play Bel'Veth, you'll get the hang of it. You can see that when you have true form there, you can also Q over walls. I think that little tidbit is actually in her ultimate, but I will mention it here with the Q. So once you have true form, which is when you kill someone, and then you can pick up their blossom with your ultimate, which is what your ultimate is. We'll go through the ultimate in a moment. You can basically become true form, and then you can Q through walls and through terrain, as you saw there. And then when you drop off of true form, you turn back into like a humanoid figure, as we are now, and the wings become like a cape, and now we don't have all those bonus stats. So here we're trying to kill gank the Aatrox, we get his flash, which is fantastic, and we back off. So that was the Q. I know this guide in particular, I can feel it as I'm going through it, it's hard for me to convey a lot of the abilities and how she feels. So if you have questions, again, leave them down below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. But she does... You start to understand her more the more you play, and I highly recommend giving her a shot. Especially with the cooldown on the Q, it's a little different because you have different cooldowns depending on the direction. You want to try and manage your resource bar. Picking up those stacks is a little weird. But apart from that, she's not like hard mechanically to play. She's not the hardest. But she's obviously not the simplest either. Now, what we're doing great this game is we're working our way through the map with our lead. And we're picking up all the objectives and getting as many kills as we can. We're up to 4 and 0, which is really, really good. 2 assists as well. And we're making sure to pick up the objectives. I think we've got 2 dragons at this point. We're going to pick up the Rift Herald here. Relieving pressure off our top lane as well with that gank, getting the flash off the Aatrox. So we're doing really, really well. You can see here, you got to make sure you push your R onto the Blossom whenever you kill a epic monster or a champion to pick it up and get your ultimate, which is your true form. Alright, you can see here, we start off with the W. The teleport is coming in, and we take tower aggro, which is no good. But I know that they're really low, both of them, so I'm thinking in my head, we can just shove this and dive. So we're going to use the Rift Herald as well to pop the tower, so they have no hope. Remember, we're past 14 minutes now, so there's no more tower gold. So there's the flash from the Singe to flip the Aatrox closer to me, and we can go clean up and get the Bard as well. There we go, we get the double kill, and we get the tower. So really, really good little play there. We got the dive off, we got the tower, and now we're gonna try and guide this Rift Herald into the second tower here. But remember, there's 3 here, so I think if we just guide it in, we could probably just back off and call it a day there. Maybe still a camp on the way out. All right, I want to get through the W, but there's a lot of action on screen, so I don't want to start explaining it. And there's a little bit of a fight going on. We are currently 6 and 0. Remember, we have true form, so we can dash over walls, which helped there to get away from the Jin W. And then we're going to use the blasting cone to get out. Beautiful. Nice little play there. So let's go through the W, which is quite a simple ability. It's called Above and Below. So Bel'Veth slams her tail down in a target direction that deals magic damage to enemies, knocks them up, and slows them. So the knock-up is 0.75 seconds. And the slow slows them for 50%. And then the slow duration goes up with levels. But remember, this is your last max. Now, this ability scales with both physical and magic damage. But seeing as your champion basically scales fully on physical damage, the magic damage scaling is irrelevant, in my opinion. If this hits enemy champion, it resets Void Surge's cooldown of that direction. Now, what does that mean? If you Q in a direction and then hit the W, that Q will now come off cooldown. Okay? Which is kind of weird to explain. and it's hard to even show in a video. It's not hard to show. It's hard to show in this video because it's a game itself. But basically, if you hit an enemy champion, it resets the cooldown of voice of that dash in that target direction, right? So if you aim it this way and that Q is on cooldown and you hit someone, I hope you can see my arm, then the Q for that direction will be refreshed, which is something you might not know. As we see the, I think it's just the Lux here getting collapsed upon, unfortunately going to die. So we're getting there. We might be able to pick up a kill on the way out, but unfortunately the Lux died and we got the Dragon coming up real soon. So let's go through the E, which is a really long ability to go through, and it's the E. It's fantastic. It's the, it's one of those really, really strong abilities, and you saw it there. It's great for 1v1ing. It makes Bel'Veth feel really strong, in my opinion. So when you activate it, Bel'Veth enters a defensive stance for 1.5 seconds, during which is unable to move, but she gains 20% life steal and 70% damage reduction. So you take 70% reduced damage and you get a bunch of life steal. So when it's like, it's almost like a Warwick ultimate, right? On a fucking 10-second cooldown. It's insane. Obviously, they're not suppressed like in the Warwick ultimate. They can still move around, and you can't move, which is the opposite of the Warwick ultimate. However, it's just so good for 1v1ing when you're low and they're low. And just surviving that initial burst. You can see here, we try and greed to smite steal the dragon, but unfortunately we fail that, and we have to get out here. I think they collapse on me with a lot of CC. You can see once you're in form, Bel'Veth has a lot of mobility. Unfortunately, we get stared up against the wall and we take our first death, which is unfortunate. A little bit greedy there trying to steal the dragon. We weren't really set up for it, just trying to outplay. But that's okay. We learn from our mistakes. So once you activate the E, you rapidly slash the nearest enemies with the lowest current health percentage for up to 6 times over the duration. Now, it's +1 for each 33% bonus attack speed. So what does this mean? Later on in the game, your little dashes that you're doing, your little slices, you get more of them, the more bonus attack speed you get. Each slash does physical damage and increased by how much health the enemy is missing. So it's an execute. So the lower health they are, the more damage it does. And applies on hit, which means if you have any on hits, like Rage Blade, or I think Blade the Ruin King has an on hit, you're applying those. And again, that scales with their missing health. It also does 150% damage to monsters, which are jungle camps, and applies lifesteal at 100% effectiveness, but it cannot critical strike. So you can see that there's the E there. As we go, as soon as they leave the range, I try and cancel it, and then unfortunately the Bard gets away there with a nicely timed ultimate. We should have flashed. We turned around and auto attacked a minion, which is a bit of a mistake as well. Trying to dodge the ultimate, but it is what it is. So he gets out. So Royal Maelstrom can be recast after 0.7 seconds, which is what I said. And it does so at the end of the cast as well, automatically, obviously, if there's no one else like in range. And if when you recast it, it ends the Maelstrom. So the target does not have to be visible to be hit by the ability as well. So if they go out of vision into a bush, you can still hit them. Now, when you cast it, you can see that little circle goes around you. So that's the zone of where you're doing your damage. So anyone in that zone, the lowest target will take the damage first. So let's sum this up real quickly. So basically, you use it, you get damage reduction, you get lifesteal, you're doing little slices of damage. The more attack speed you have, the more little instances of damages you do. And you're doing little physical damage bursts. So what makes this insane is when you're low, you get that lifesteal. The reason why when I say you're low is because if they're low, if you've been trading essentially and you're both getting low, you can use it to heal yourself back up while damaging them and killing them. Because they're taking more damage because of the increased damage because they're low health. So that's the E. Now we're going to have to go through this monster ultimate. This is considering this ultimate doesn't like do anything when you cast it. You can't use it on an enemy or something. It's an absolute slab of text. So I apologize for this essay we're about to read, but it is important to understand what's going on. Okay, so the ultimate is called Endless Banquet. Okay, so it has a passive component, and we're going to go through that first. Bel'Veth's basic attacks on here apply a mark to the target for 5 seconds, refreshing on subsequent hits. So whenever you hit someone, you're applying a mark on them, and then it counts down for 5 seconds, but if you hit him again, it refreshes back to 5 seconds. Every second attack on here against the marked damage deals bonus true damage and generates a stack of Endless Banquet. That increases this damage by the same value. The effect stacks. If this effect stacks indefinitely but is capped at 5 stacks against epic monsters, the mark and stacks expire upon attacking a new target. Now, what the hell does that mean? Now, if I auto-attack the Leona here, I'm hoping I can do it here. I might have a little bit of a... I'll show it on the screen top left, as I always do. Whenever you attack something, you're generating these stacks that are doing true damage. The more you attack, the more true damage you're building and building and building and building. Eventually, your auto-attacks are doing insane amounts of true damage. So basically, sustained auto-attack trades against Bel'Veth are fucking insane. If you are on the receiving end of this, you're going to absolutely explode because she's generating all this bonus true damage against you. Nice pick on the Lux. Now, the little spiel about epic monsters just means this. You can't just infinitely stack it on a Baron and one-shot it, basically. So it stacks up to 5 times, and after that, it stops. So you can see here against the cannon there, those little white numbers popping out, that's the true damage. So if you go back and watch it slowly, you'll see as I'm attacking, the true damage number is popping and going larger and larger as I'm applying, as that true damage stack is increasing. So we can see it here on the dragon when I go onto the dragon, but I'm sure I'll put a test dummy up in the top left so you can have a look. So you see when we're auto-attacking the dragon, we're generating that stacks and they're going up, the true damage is going up. So the 58, 61, it's popping up, up. So Bel'Veth does a lot of true damage, essentially is what that means. And whenever you're attacking someone, you're building that up. Now, you lose these stacks on a target if you change target, right? So basically what that means is you want to be focusing one target at a time. When you're clearing the jungle, it's not that important. When you're clearing like small camps like the raptors to try and focus it down, essentially you can, on your first clear, only auto-attack the big chicken and then let your Q and your AoE abilities take care of the little ones and your smite burn. While also stacking up that true damage on the big chicken, which is what that means. Alright, so passive. Whenever Bel'Veth scores a takedown against an enemy champion or epic monster while alive, a Void Coral is spawned from their courts for 15 seconds. Baron Nashor and Rift Herald spawn an enhanced Void Coral. So there's the Void Coral on cue as we kill the, I think it was the Bard, and we can pick it up and turn into our true form. So big mistake on the Leona to go on to me. You can see me there going straight after the AD carry when I think they're in range. Because Leona's their tank, right? We want to be focusing their damage before the tank. So there's the Void Coral. You basically go over to it and you push R on it. And then you sort of teleport to it and you pick it up. Now, when you actually push the button, what happens is Bel'Veth dashes to the Void Coral to consume it. This causes, there's a cast time and it slows nearby enemies by 25%, ramping up to 99%. So when you dash in, there's like a slow, almost like a Nunu ultimate, that gets to a 99% slow over the duration. She then creates an explosion at the location, dealing true damage to enemies within it, capped at $1,500 damage versus monsters. And then she assumes her true form, which is what we see now, like a manta ray that's kind of flapping her big wings as she traverses the map. Bel'Veth consumes all existing Void Corals at the same time, generating a stack of Lavender for each one consumed. So basically, when you pick up that coral as well, you stack a generate of... So basically, if there's lots of different ones on the floor around, you pick up one, they all expire, and every single one that was consumed, you get a stack of your passive for. Now, just to remind you guys, that stack is the number on your passive bar. You can see it down there. This is the thing that's constantly going up during the game to give you more attack speed. So that's what that means. True form. Let's go through what happens when Bel'Veth's in her true form. So Bel'Veth evolves into a monster, gaining bonus health. She gets bonus movement speed out of combat. She gets bonus attack range. She has increased attack speed. Void Surge, which is the dash, can now pass through terrain, which we mentioned earlier when we were going through the queue. Consuming a Void Coral refreshes the duration of true form and heals Bel'Veth. So if you kill someone while in true form, you can go pick up the coral, does the explosion, the slow as it always does the true damage. It also refreshes the cooldown of the timer of your true form, and it also heals you. Enhanced Void Corals empower to last 180 seconds and causes the Void Remora to spawn minions that die. Let's go through what that means, because that's a little bit complicated as we get out nicely with our flash and our Q. A nearby Void Coral is required to cast it, so you can't just push your ultimate. So you can see here, our ultimate is available to use, but there's no Void Corals around, so we can't use our ultimate. So, Enhance Void Coral bonus, True Form. So the True Form is empowered to 180 seconds that causes Void Remora to spawn and minions die nearby. So what does that mean? When you kill Baron or the Rift Herald, you get an enhanced version of your True Form. What this means is whenever you go near minions and they die, you spawn these little voidlings, we'll call them, almost like a Malzahar, that spawn and follow you up the lane and act as extra minions. So, we basically have gone through all of Bel'Veth's abilities, and I'm tired explaining it, so I can just imagine how confused and tired you guys all are. So, I apologise, but Riot keep releasing these champions that are increasingly more difficult and complicated, so it is what it is. Now, if you follow this series, you'll know that we do the champions obviously in alphabetical order. Bel'Veth has come out after, obviously we're up to like N, I think. So we're going back and doing Bel'Veth even though she starts with B. So that's why we're covering her now. So what do I think about her? She's a really complicated to get your head around champion. But when you play her, she's not as complicated as first thought, okay? Basically, how does it all work? You use your Q to close gaps. Your W is a knock-up. Your E, you want to use it when they're low and you do a lot of damage. Your ultimate is something to pick up whenever you get a kill and an assist or you take over a dragon. All the little minute details are just nice to know if you really want to main her. But if you want to pick her up, I feel like just knowing those little tips will help you out. So you can see here, we use our Q to get into range. And then we use our E to clean up when she goes invisible. Now, you can see what I did wrong there. And I went back there and used my mouse to go over it to remind myself to cover it in the video. I didn't go pick up that Lavender. Coral. Which is bad, right? Obviously, we don't get True Form. So we can get it here. We go there. We use that big burst of true damage. We're using our Qs to close the gap on the Leona. When we get into range, we try and CC with the W. When they get close to me, that's when I use my E. Also, sorry, my W. No, my E, sorry, my Maelstrom. Make sure you're picking up every time you get a kill or an assist. Make sure, or a Dragon, or a Rift Herald. Make sure or a Baron. Make sure you're picking up those Coral stacks because that will give you a stack of your passive, giving you more attack speed. You can see here we're up to 3.5 attacks per second. You can see it went up to 3.6 when we killed the Dragon because it gave us more stacks. And then we go True Form, so we're up to 3.6, so we're 6.1. So we are absolutely lasering people. Which is why building just raw AD is fantastic in Bel'Veth, because the faster you can attack, the more you can apply that physical damage. Remember, you're only doing 75% of your physical damage on auto attacks. So, we haven't been focusing on the game a lot this video, which is... I don't tend to normally focus a lot on the gameplay when I do these guides. However, you can see we're 10, 1, and 3. Ideally, we would have ended the game by now, but I was just having fun going around clearing camps and getting all the objectives just to show you, but essentially making sure I had enough time to go through the champion because she's a really complicated champion to go through. Also, late game Bel'Veth is kind of ridiculous and fun to watch. So I hope you enjoy the gameplay from here on out. This whole time it's been is pretty insane. Once you get your stacks up, it's insane how fast you can absolutely destroy things. That blue buff absolutely got roasted. And we can see Baron is alive. You can see me here limit testing. I think, you know what, I'm going to try and just do this by myself. Let's see if I can do it. So we don't even have form. And let's see if we can 1v1 the Baron here. So I'm asking for help. And you're going to see really easily, we absolutely demolish this thing. So you can see the true damage stacking up as well. I think it gets to 5 and then it stops. Yeah, so now it's not stacking up, doing more damage. You can see it's just doing 106, 106, 106, 106, 106. So it's capped against the Baron. Against a champion, that would be continuously going higher and higher and higher and higher. We need to make sure we get this Lavender. Please, God, I hope I go get it. No, I forget to get it. That's a big one too. That is a enhanced one. So you can see here, I'm making terrible mistakes. You need to pick up that Lavender because that's the enhanced one, which would be giving us the minions that spawn in the lane. Which is a bad mistake for me, but that's okay. Again, we're having a lot of fun on the champion. So do as I say, not as I do, essentially. So I hope you guys have learned a little bit today. She's a very complicated champion. We use our dash to get out of that barred bind perfectly, ultimate. You can see that Lavender I did leave. I think I left that one intentionally because I was like, I'm not going to go back in. I'll get killed. But again, it's probably worth picking it up every single time. I haven't figured that out yet when it's like almost suicide to go pick it up, whether it's worth it. Because of how, you know, if you go in and you take all that damage, you might die. I know the slow and true damage burst is nice, but you might die and that's no good. Especially when you've got a massive shutdown like in this game. We don't want to be just giving away free kills like that. So you can see here, I'm trying to get the Jhin, and we get him. So we open up with the W, we close the gap, we go to the E. The E was a little early, to be honest, but it didn't really matter. We pick up the Void Coral this time. So now we're nice and true formed up. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to quickly run through all the abilities one more time. Okay, just so if you've forgotten everything, you know what's going on. Now, your passive, you're generating stacks of attack speed. Remember, you can attack really fast, but your attacks do less damage. Your Q is the little dash, okay? You can dash in 4 different directions. Each direction has its own cooldown. The W is the knock-up that does magic damage and slows. It also knocks people up for 0.75 seconds. The E is the Maelstrom, which you stop what you're doing. You stop in place. You have increased damage reduction. So you take less damage. You gain increased increased attack speed. And you get all this lifesteal, which means you're an absolute wrecking ball. However, you can't move. And then your ultimate is your corals, where you go over to them and you pick them up. You can see here we dash inside. We're at true form here. We're knocking people up. We're using our Qs. And look at this. It's absolutely insane, the auto attacks. Well, I can't even see the Kiana, but I'm just going to use my E and kill her. Okay, so remember we can dash over walls here. So if we wanted to, we can dash over walls. But remember, each Q has its own cooldown. I think she gets away here. So we're level 18. We're almost full build. And we're true form. This is when Bel'Veth has started to get godlike and insane levels of nonsense. If you have a Bel'Veth in your game and it's got to this late, it's almost game over. It's like a Kayle level of... I wouldn't say Kayle level, because Kayle is always range, so she can always outrange the Bel'Veth. But the scaling on Bel'Veth is actually really, really strong. So keep that in mind if you want to pick her up in your games. So anyway, guys, we're going to go siege the base. Look at the auto attack speed. I love watching auto attacks. Look at this. Oh my god, the Jhin had no chance. That's a nice save again from the Bard. Unfortunately, the Jin's going to get away. I think I try to do a little bit too much here, go 1v5 to see how bad we can do it. And unfortunately, we die. So it isn't full-on 1v5 levels, and the GA would have been nice there, but it is quite nonsense. She is very good at like cleaning up fights as well, kind of like what a Master Yi is good at. Just getting in after all the CC is down and just killing everything. Now, Bel'Veth's biggest weakness is indeed CC. So if you want to counter the Bel'Veth in your games, some hard CC, lock her down like we were there. Bard, ulti, Leona, stun. You can see I could move and I can't apply any of my damage. Once the E is down, which is the Maelstrom, she loses a lot of her lifesteal. Obviously, she's going to be building lifesteal and Death Stance. So you want to be building Magic Cut against her as well. Healing Cut against the Bel'Veth as well when you come up against her. So I hope that helps if you come up against the Bel'Veth. So yeah, guys, that's a quick rundown of all the abilities. Sorry this video was extremely long. I wanted to make sure we get through everything on Bel'Veth. Remember to ask questions down below. And I hope this guide has helped. She's a fun champion to play. Again, she's very new, so I haven't got like so much super experience on her. But I've played a few games of her now, and I think she's really, really fun. And I'm starting to get the basics down on her, and I think she's quite fun. And if you're new to the game and you can afford her, because I know new players struggle with the currency, she's quite expensive, as always the new champions are. But if you get a chance to play her, I highly recommend her. She's a lot of fun. See here, this is when she's good. Everything's low. You just go in and absolutely nuke everything. And now we're going to get the Elder Dragon. And remember, when we're going to pick up the true form against the Elder Dragon to extend the range. No, we don't. Again, we forget. So you can see here, just watching myself play, I'm forgetting to pick up a lot of those coral stacks. So remember to pick up those stacks. The enemy team surrender, and that's the end of the game, guys. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you for all the support on the YouTube channel lately. It's been fantastic. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.